What Saquon is doing this year is historic, and it's going to be historic. It is the perfect marriage of the ideal offense with the best offensive line and one of the most explosive running backs we've ever seen.
You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey, none other than your host, former NFL lineman, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It is a Monster Monday presented, of course, by DraftKings. I'm Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman, 5 teams, 7 years, broadcaster now, called the Titans and Texans yesterday for CBS. I got 2. Let's play 2 this week. Friday, again on CBS, college football, Black Friday. It's Stanford, the Cardinal at San Jose State. The battle for the almighty microchip, the Silicon Valley showdown. Yes, I made up both those things, but I'm going with it this week because it's a rivalry game. And then Sunday, I'll be in the booth for the Buffalo Bills and the San Francisco 49ers Sunday Night Football for radio, Westwood One. So I got a nice little doubleheader this weekend. However, totally forgot to announce the winners or to find winners. So try to enter to be a winner today, because I'll hopefully remember for tomorrow. You can spread the word via social media at Ross Tucker Pod, just a repost or a comment or a reply or whatever. Or you can take advantage of any of the glorious sponsors that you hear. Future Fans is back with the coolest gift you can ever get someone between the ages, 3 and 11. You want someone to learn football? This is a, niece, nephew, grandchild, child, incredible, buddies, children. And then YouTube, shout out, youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. Just make a comment. Love doing the videos for you guys. Well, here's what we do on Mondays. If you're new here, if you are, welcome. Love having you. As a reminder, you can always watch us, youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. I'll give you my overarching themes from the Sunday that was in the NFL, and then the key takeaways from each game. So in 26 minutes or less, I would say, you'll know everything you need to know about what happened Sunday, Week 12 in the National Football League. Let's do this, producer Jack. It's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
All right, Ross. So what are your themes from Week 12 across the NFL so far?
So there are several. I feel like, well, first of all, I always feel like before I get into the themes, there's like news that we have to talk about that happened since we recorded Friday morning. While I was in Houston in the hotel room, stuff happens later on Friday or over the weekend. So I kind of throw the newsy stuff into the themes. One of which is Thursday Night Football for Week 16 has been flexed, which is interesting because I'll be there. I was already scheduled for Westwood One to be doing the Browns at the Bengals, which I was excited about because I have a couple friends in Cincinnati. That game has gotten flexed. It's now the Broncos at the Chargers. So now flying to LA, which, programming note, is further away from Pennsylvania than Cincinnati. But that's fine. It'll be a good game. Looking forward to it. So, but the first Thursday Night Football flex ever. They have to do it a month in advance because they're changing days. I mean, they're changing it by 3 or 4 days. So people need a pretty good heads up for that. Then you've got sort of dueling Aaron Rodgers reports, I guess, going on right now. I don't know. There are reports that, that they might bench him or whatever, or he might go on IR because he has injuries. Then you see other reports that he wants to play, and there's a lot that he's going to play, but for another team next year. There's a lot going on there. Both sides are trying to save face a little bit. Both sides are trying to put their messaging out there. I've been saying for weeks, and I saw my buddy Ryan Fitzpatrick said this recently, but I've been saying for weeks that I feel like I'll have a ton of respect for Aaron if he plays every game the rest of the year. Now, maybe the Jets take it out of his hands, which is a totally different conversation. But if he stays out there and plays the rest of the season, he will earn a lot of respect from me and other players. The other thing is Daniel Jones. That's major news. He asked for his release, and he was granted it. I think that might have happened on Friday after we recorded. I don't know if we talked about that or not. But Daniel Jones, he was released technically Saturday. So he goes on waivers today. Somebody might pick him up. Raiders, maybe. Raiders might pick him up. I don't know. But then you got to pick up the whole contract. I don't know if people want to do that. Maybe more likely that he just becomes a free agent. You also had the Niners injury news. I don't know that when we were recording that we realized no Brock Purdy, no Nick Bosa. I certainly didn't know that when I was making the picks, either here or on the Even Money Betting podcast. That definitely has an impact, huge impact, and it did on the game, clearly. So the other themes, I would say, the biggest ones for me, Jack, would be a lot of young quarterbacks. Feels like they're playing well, and maybe this is normal. Maybe this is the way it should be, that as the season goes on, they have a chance to get more snaps under their belt, more experience. They get more comfortable, and they start playing better. We'll start with the game I did, the Titans and the Texans. Will Levis did some really good things for the Titans. I mean, he was on point. Unfortunately, he had a critical pick six. They were able to overcome it. And he took a number of sacks that really he should not have taken. They were really more on Levis than they were on the offensive line. Probably about half of the 8, I would say. And his coach acknowledged that at halftime. But he did some positive things, really good. And the Titans got a huge win. That is big for him and his coach to get that win on the road in Houston. Bryce Young, I don't know, was that his best game ever? His best game I can remember against the Chiefs defense, no less. We'll get to that, but Bryce Young won a couple games in a row. Now he's putting up 27 against Steve Spagnuolo and the Chiefs defense and taking the Chiefs to the very end of the game. I see you, Bryce. Thank goodness they put him back in there. It's not good that Andy Dalton got in a car accident, but thank goodness they put him back in there so that he could show that they might have something there. There's still a lot of football to be played the rest of this year. Interesting. Levis, Bryce Young, a lot of these guys in the same situation where they're kind of playing to show, that they are the guy moving forward. Caleb Williams did some awesome things really throughout the game. And then in particular late to tie that up, to send it to overtime. Caleb Williams has now had back-to-back good games. And Bo Nix might be the rookie of the year in the NFL. He is ascending, as are the Broncos. Meanwhile, Jaden Daniels and Washington, they're going the wrong way, which is not what you're looking for. I should mention, by the way, my Sunday themes, Jack, almost always presented by Labatt Blue Light. They did not have it on the planes back from Houston, but I did have some daddy sodas. I wish they were Labatt Blue Lights. Absolutely delicious. Stock up for this week and moving forward for the holidays so you can drink some Labatt Blue Lights with friends and family. Live life to the power of we. Always enjoy responsibly. Beer, Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York. Lastly, kickers, man. Jack, I feel like this might be the third straight week. I would say special teams in general, right? You are seeing crazy stuff going on where there's the Turpin kickoff return for a touchdown. You've got Seibert for the Commanders missing 2 extra points. My game had a lot of bananas special teams. Kaimi Fairbairn, that's the record for kicks over 50 in a season, and he misses a 28-yarder. and drops to the ground like that. That was wild. They had a big return in that one. You had an onside kick on a free kick. I mean, just special teams. There was a blocked punt. Special teams muffed. I mean, special teams is a huge, huge factor. And kickers missing chip shots. Yeah, I don't know what the deal was with those guys. Anyway, those are my themes, Jack. Excitement level is high, by the way, Jack. 2 days away, Wednesday, getting the 2 new entry doors installed. We talked about it a couple years ago. If you go to westshorehome.com/Ross, number one, you can see what my old door looked like and my new. We'll do this again on Wednesday. Wait till you see how much better it's going to look. My detached garage, like office studio door, is heinous. Cannot wait to get the new door from westshorehome.com/Ross. By the way, still, you can get a new shower installed by Christmas or it's free. At least that's what it says here. Let me know, West Shore, if that's not the case. They listen. Free installation plus 18 months, no interest, no payments. That would be an amazing holiday gift for your family. A new shower or even a new entry door. Just visit westshorehome.com/Ross. westshorehome.com/Ross. I'm so fired up for Wednesday. My friends at Smirnoff know there's no I in football. It's a we thing. Best enjoyed together. Good drinks, good folks. Smirnoff's the world's #1 vodka, an official vodka partner of the NFL. And we got the holidays coming up. More opportunities to watch football and make delicious Smirnoff cocktails. Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Christmas. Smirnoff and the NFL are with you every step of the way. Make sure to drink responsibly. Take a minute. Make a plan. Never drive impaired. Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff number 21 vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Please do not share with anyone under legal drinking age. Smirnoff, we do game days.
All right, we're going to start with Kansas City, barely avoiding the upset in Carolina with a walk-off field goal to win 30-27.
By the way, the Chiefs signed DJ Humphries, the former Cardinals left tackle. So that was a smart signing if he's healthy. DJ Humphries might end up being their left tackle down the stretch and in the playoffs because they've really struggled at that. Both of these teams had serious red zone issues, where they would get down there and get bogged down. It's actually pretty impressive that they still scored 30-27 points with them settling for field goals as much as they did. Like, obviously, the Chiefs, 3 field goals, the Panthers, 2 field goals, but red zone issues nonetheless. I'm telling you, man, red zone, turnovers, explosive plays, those are the difference makers in pro football, those 3 things. It's kind of interesting watching the game, Jack, and watching the highlights. Like, I think the real question for everyone as it relates to this game was how much of that was good Panthers offense with Bryce Young, and how much of that is maybe the Chiefs defense just isn't the same right now without Jalen Watson. They lost their corner. He's done for the year. And teams are kind of picking on the other guys they're putting out there right now. That seems like a big loss. And then, of course, Patrick Mahomes, the best, he and Brady, but Patrick Mahomes is better at making the key play late to win the game. Because Mahomes can do it with his legs too. Brady could not. And even the Chiefs' new kicker, who we've never heard of, makes the game-winning kick like Butker seemingly always did.
Minnesota, they hold off a late comeback from Chicago with a 30-27 overtime win.
So Sam Darnold played very well, especially in overtime, right? I mean, versus a good Bears defense. And he did it without getting a whole lot from Justin Jefferson. It was mainly a Jordan Addison day. TJ Hawkinson had that big play, but highly encouraging for the Vikings. Sam Darnold, it felt like he went through that like mid-season slump, if you will. But for him to play the way he has the last couple games against a couple of good defenses in a row against the Titans and the Bears, that makes me think that the Vikings really do have a chance to make a playoff run. Now, unfortunately, they lost Ivan Pace, who's a good linebacker for them. their left tackle Cam Robinson, and Quessenberry came in, and he really struggled at left tackle in place of Cam Robinson. So that's something to keep an eye on. It was the red zone defense. Stop me if you heard this before. Maybe this should have been one of my themes, Jack. It was the red zone defense for the Bears that really kept them in it. Caleb Williams, another huge step forward, by the way, against a tough defense. I mean, that Brian Flores defense, confusing. That's actually interesting, too, because Levis played good against them last week, too. It's back-to-back young quarterbacks actually playing well against the Brian Flores complicated defense. But then Caleb Williams does things like get sacked after 10 seconds by Grenard in overtime. Cannot happen. He's learning lessons every week. That is for sure.
Game you might know a thing or two about. The Titans, they get the upset on the road in Houston, 32-27.
I got to post it. I'll post it on Facebook today, but I've already posted it on Twitter and Instagram at Ross Tucker NFL. The Texans really may have the best press box food in the league. I mean, it is super impressive. I mean, I can't even go over all of it, but it's an A+. I mean, they had 3 different options for make your own breakfast tacos: bacon, egg, and cheese, sausage, egg, and cheese, just egg and cheese. They had this birria, like seasoned beef. They had you can get your own Cornish game hen. I mean, all kinds of stuff. Ice cream sundae station, all the drinks you could want, candy, cookie. I mean, it was impressive. Really, really impressive. Speaking of that, the Titans offense was explosive in this game. I mean, big plays. Westbrook Akine, Calvin Ridley, Chigo Okonkwo, though a lot of that he did himself, run after the catch. Tony Pollard had a big game. The Texans defense had been stellar, and the Titans ate them up. I mean, really ate them up. I told you about Levis had the bad pick 6 and taking the sacks, but the Titans were the better team in this game. I mean, they really were. Stroud, I thought, was a little up and down. He did some positive things, but he had 2 tough interceptions, really tough interceptions, where, he needs to be better than that. Now, the one, he was on a miscommunication with Mechie. Mechie stopped. Stroud thought he was going to keep going, but then he had a bad interception to Murray, and then he gets sacked for a safety late. I mentioned again, special teams were a huge factor in the game. Primarily the Titans being bad at special teams, but then Fairbairn with the missed chip shot. Like, I thought for sure we were going overtime and I might miss my flight.
Detroit, they continue to beat down on teams. This time the Colts, 24-6.
And their defense, Jack, is super impressive, led by Alim McNeil. I mean, to be balling like that, 6 points, even without Hutchinson, even without Anzalone. Anthony Richardson, by the way, for the Colts, he just remains a roller coaster. I mean, chunk plays in the passing game, big time plays in the running game, but then really struggled with pressure. More injuries, by the way, for the Lions as they're piling up. We'll see what happens with these games coming up on Thursday already. Jared Goff was awesome in the middle of the field and against that zone coverage that the Colts like so much.
Miami, they're firmly back in the playoff hunt with a 34-15 win over the Patriots.
Tua Tagovailoa remains on fire. I mean, really, ever since he came back, it's a shame. I keep saying that they lost those 3 close games in a row. They'd be the favorite, I think, for that wild card spot. Jalen Waddle had his biggest game in a long time. Jonnu Smith continues to have big games. Patriots were never really competitive in this game. That was disappointing. That was a big step back, I thought, for Gerard Mayo's team. May still did some positive stuff. They're very limited around him. Chop Robinson, he continues to come on for the Dolphins. He's had a heck of a month here, and that's highly encouraging as the rest of the season keeps going.
New York, they just looked helpless in a 30-7 loss to the Bucs.
Not surprised. Based on the comments of the players during the week, didn't exactly sound like they were rallying around the new quarterback, Tommy DeVito. I mean, Malik Neighbors is making comments about the coach after the game. It is ugly in New York. I think they will clean house. I think everybody's done. Neighbors not happy he didn't get any targets until they were down 30-0 as the Bucs scored on 5 of their first 6 possessions, including 3 straight touchdowns. Baker Mayfield's out here doing the Tommy DeVito celebration. Big day for Bucky Irving, the rookie running back for the Bucs. I guess DeVito made a couple plays with his legs, but he was typically scattershot. Vita Vea kind of controlled the game defensively for the Bucs. Then Tyrone Tracy, another fumble, killing him. He's killing the team. He's had a really good rookie year. He's actually a major positive for Joe Shane and his picks, but fumbles can't have it.
Sticking in the NFC East, it might be time for the Commanders to hit the panic button after a chaotic 34-26 loss to Dallas.
This is one of the craziest last 3 minutes ever. One of the craziest special teams games ever. I mean, missed kicks, blocked kicks, bad snaps, touchdowns on onside kicks. Cavante Turpin, one of the best kickoff return touchdowns I've ever seen. Wild end of the game. Touchdowns back and forth. Cowboys, then the Commanders, Zach Ertz. Then Turpin returns it for a touchdown. Then Terry McLaurin goes 85 yards. Then they miss the extra point. Then they return the onside kick where the guy should have gone down. Actually gave the Commanders a chance to theoretically win the game, but he throws a pick. Just a wild, wild game. And that's a horrible loss for the Commanders. I mean, it basically cements the NFC East for the Eagles and, starting to put their wild card spot in jeopardy here. They need to turn this thing around.
Bo Nix was wheeling and dealing against the Raiders defense in a 29-19 Broncos victory.
Yeah, Bo Nix is the real deal. I mean, he is in a terrific groove in that Sean Payton offense. And listen, Sean Payton can just flat out coach. I think Saints fans feel like it had run its course in New Orleans, and I think they're right about that. But I'm getting sort of Andy Reid vibes, Andy Reid in Kansas City vibes with Sean Payton in Denver right now. In the sense of, man, this guy is going to be able to do something pretty darn good with another team. Now, I don't think it'll be the Chiefs and what they've accomplished, but it's pretty impressive. Cortland Sutton absolutely balling with those touchdown catches. For the Raiders, Gardner Minshew had a rough interception, which kind of totally flipped the game. It was a close, good game until then, till that interception. I think he got hit, but it was an overthrow as he was throwing it. And then he broke his collarbone, so he's done for the year, which is why I said maybe Daniel Jones. They're saying Aiden O'Connell. The Raiders' game management late was just not good enough. I mean, not using the timeout, not kicking the field goal. It was poor. There's no other way around it.
The Packers steamroll a Purdy-less Niners team 38-10.
Mentioned earlier, no Purdy or Bosa for the Niners. Xavier McKinney has another interception as Brandon Allen airmailed that. I thought Brandon Allen was okay, but the Niners are in a bad, bad way right now. Turnovers are killing them. I mean, any chance they have, it's competitive. Brandon Allen airmails a throw. Christian McCaffrey fumbles. That's when you kind of know it's just not your day. You know what I mean? Like when Christian McCaffrey is fumbling like that, you've got major, major problems. And the Packers, kudos to them for taking advantage of it and making that game non-competitive. That was the Tom Brady game, and I don't know. I turned it to the other games because it was bad.
Arizona, they lose a vital NFC West battle to the Seahawks 16-6.
The NFC West is like straight out of central casting for the NFL's desire for parity right now. It's unbelievable. They're all like 6-5 or 5-6. You had the pick six by Kobe Bryant was by far the biggest play of the game. Although if you see the change of direction by Witherspoon on that play, the recent top 10 pick, he's the one that made it so Kyler Murray couldn't run and had to throw it, and then he takes it to the house. Seahawks defense was good. I mean, Cardinals couldn't score a touchdown the whole game. They settled for 2 field goals. You know, the Cardinals defense actually played well. Cardinals defense only gave up 9 points. It was just this was like an old-fashioned defensive slugfest in this one.
Saquon Barkley had a historic night running the ball in a 37-20 win over the Rams.
He did, which means we got to give out some awards, including the hungriest performance of the week. Genuine Wagyu beef. You saw me on social media. I posted about this. Angus beef, heritage breed pork, free-range chicken, all locally raised, available nationwide online. You can shop in person at the farm store in Newville, PA. Huge curated selection of kitchen and pantry items made by a family-owned business. I love them. I've been there. I've eaten the food. I've hung out with them. Love family businesses. 11oaksfarms.com. What Saquon is doing this year is historic, and it's going to be historic. It is the perfect marriage of the ideal offense with the best offensive line and one of the most explosive running backs we've ever seen. This is not normal. This guy ripping off this many 30, 40, 60, 70-yard runs. But Saquon is not normal, setting the Eagles' record for both scrimmage yards and rushing yards in the game. Unbelievable. I would also say, Jack, you got to give the Eagles the offensive line of the week. Presented by Campbell's Chunky, soup that eats like a meal. I love Saquon. You love Saquon. But we got to talk about the Eagles' offensive line. I mean, some of these holes are gigantic. You don't get these long runs unless there's big holes that allow Saquon to hit the hole with all of his speed so he can dust everybody. The Eagles probably have the best offensive line in the NFL yet again. Other than that, Jack, I would say the Rams moved the ball early, but after that, Vic Fangio's defense stiffened up. They weren't able to do much after that. Brandon Graham injury, though, was a big one for the Eagles with the torn tricep. Other than that, I think we're done here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out myfrontpagestory.com. You guys know how I feel about it. Please get this. For any loved one, but in particular a grandparent, they deserve it. It's myfrontpagestory.com. Backofficescheduler.com, humanheadnyc.com, Sporticulture, Pizza Boy Brewing.